do people give to the education sector? Why do people go to school? How important is the certificate that we get from our schools? I think the essence of certificate is to certify someone that this person have actually gone through a particular course or maybe done a training, as it may. But then the issue of falsification, forgery, is everywhere. Where can you point to these days that you won't have one or two persons that have forged a particular certificate? As it is right now, because of the level of relevance given to the certificate, a lot of people feel, well, I need to have this certificate to get employment or maybe to get a favor for whatever reason. But then the federal government of Nigeria is in a bid to go after certificate forgers. Is your certificate forged? Especially that of the higher institution. Just recently, we heard how a university came out to say, well, a particular entertainer who is claiming to bag a particular qualification from their university had never attended their university. But how did he get this certificate? This morning, we'll be looking at the federal government, of course, going after certificate forgers. And I have my guest in the studio here, who is a legal practitioner and, of course, a public affairs analyst in the person of Dr. Oke Ezugwu. It's good to have you this morning on the program.
Good morning. Yes.
Well, for a very long time, a lot of people have frowned at the issue of certificate forgery. But on the National Daily, we heard it that the federal government is ready to go after certificate forgers. What's your perspective? What do you think about this move?
Well, it sounds palatable and good enough that the federal government is getting sensitive about the issue of certificate forgery and all of that. But you see, if you're talking of forgery, you're talking of fake certificate, because of course we have to categorize now. There are fake certificates. And when you're talking of fake certificates, we're talking about those who went and then just put together any document and make them look like is a certificate, so to say. You have those that were actually issued by institutions, but they never passed through due processes. There are so many universities and higher institutions that, for whatever reason, you just see them people coming out with certificates. But if you go back to the drawing board to begin to check the processes leading to the issuing of the certificate, you discover that there are lacunas all over the place. It's either that candidate never even attended classes, or even after attending classes, failed some of the courses, but somewhere along the line, at the end of the whole thing, a certificate is issuing, ignoring all the shortfalls in between. But like I said, it's okay if the government will have the political will to deal with it, the issue of forgery of certificates, because it transcends every space in our lives now. People forge anything, and then of course aided by the instruments of latter-day ICT-driven programs and the rest of them. So. They can produce anything. Sometimes when they produce a certificate, for instance, it will be better than the original. And then because of certain features, some institutions take time to put in some features, security features, that you can use to discern the original from the real and the imagined. But that's when one desires to really do the proper thing. Like I said, this is not the first time government has butted the idea of going after those who forge certificates. We've had it over and over. In the ministries, it has become a ritual. In public service, it has become a ritual where monies are retired, excess monies are retired in the process of going to look for, trying to scrutinize certificates and verify them and all of that. So I don't recording decimal. I can count how many institutions of states that in the last 1 or 2 years have done it more than 10 times.
And we'll still keep having
I will still keeping having more.
So why?
And even when after doing that, what has come out of it? That's the situation. That's the problem. There are so many people in public service masquerading as directors, admin officers, permanent secretaries, and name them, all categories, who are masquerading as this is that, but their certificates are just there. But because of our usual way of doing things, if you have good contacts, you are protected. And then, so nobody goes after them because they have good contacts.
But now that the federal government wants to rise to the occasion, do you think the situation is still going to be the same for people? Because this screening is being done. We talked about it this morning, teacher screening today, civil servant screening today. Tomorrow you hear even pensioners being screened, people that have been in service and gone for authentication of documents. Now that the federal government is rising to the occasion, and some people are even saying this screening, there are some people that have gotten to a particular cadre that may not face this screening anymore. But as it is right now, do you think the federal government will be able to sanitize the system totally with this action?
Well, the exception you are trying to come up with has already opened a window for escapes, for people to escape. If you become a minister of the Federal Republic and you're having a fake certificate or a forged certificate, does that purify you? I don't know what I understand. Does your status and your ministerial position purify you as a clean person just because you are now holding public office? That exception is a window which they always provide. And it's political, I can tell you. At the end of the day, you still say, oh, you heard it before. Because at the end of the day, nothing will come out of it. Basically nothing. We've had it over and over and over. You'll be surprised that there are professors in this country who have fake certificates all over the place. Professors who are even in the universities. But they have forged certificates and all of that. So what I'm trying to say is the foundation of our educational institutions, they have become so shaky and sandy that it will only take, I wonder the kind of political leader that will be able to face those who are really in position of this, because they are in the major, the way they are going, it appears they have a sizable number really. And most of them are occupying highly placed positions in government and the private sectors and the rest of them. So they will definitely fight back. So it requires more than an announcement, that's what I'm trying to say, to be able to get those who are really into this. There has to be political will, such that if a minister, for instance, is found guilty, is removed from the cabinet.
But do you think certification is overrated in Nigeria?
Yeah, it's overrated. Of course, it's overrated because I can tell you for free that it doesn't look. I'm not too sure that because having worked in government before, I had cause to mentor a good many young graduates and the rest of them. And you discover that each time you probably will wonder whether some of them actually went through the institutions they claim to have gone through. I'm not talking of those who are employed under me now. I'm talking of even corpers who have worked with some of us. And it's a sad situation, really. But the fact that they are not justifying the certificates in our own situation where we are talking of certification at all times would not mean that they did not pass through the universities. I don't know what you understand me. So the ingredients of checking and balancing who actually has a fake certificate or a forged certificate will not be in the output. It will not be. It will be in the process. You will look at the process, not the output. After all, there are so many secondary school leavers who are very proficient in English, who speak so well and write so well. I don't know what I understand. In those days, we had those who went for standard 6, who passed out from primary school standard 6, and they were very, very good. I mean, in terms of intellectually and otherwise. Are you getting me? So the what the person does in coming out will not be used as a gauge. If we are now talking about certificate forgery and fake certificate and all that, it is the process leading to the issuing of the certificate that is more important.
Then that will take us to the education sector, of course.
Yeah.
Our education sector in Nigeria.
Yeah.
A lot of people have complained about. You just mentioned that of professors now, that some professors might even be flying with forged certificates and all of that. How did they get up the ladder to get to the position of professorship? And what's your assessment of the educational system? Is it the fault of the educational system?
The institution of states that are responsible for, for gauging and then scrutinizing and then validating whatever they are doing is weak. It's very weak. Do you know, I'm not saying for certain, but I know that as soon as a vice chancellor of a university comes on board, the moment he's nominated, he has become a political issue. When they are contesting for vice chancellorship, you see a situation where this camp belongs to this person, this camp belongs to this person, and all that. So as soon as the election is won and lost, the person who won the election definitely will have to start compensating those who fought for him. And part of the compensation, most cases, end up in elevating some of the lecturers from where they were to and the appointment of professors has taken that line. After all, it's on recommendation. If they recommend you, accepted, there could be a criteria, but I want to believe that sometimes because of the way we do our thing, it's possible for some of these criteria and guidelines to be waived. The Vice Chancellor has the final word.
The Vice Chancellor has the final word. Now, the issue of forgery is not just what we're talking about, the academics, but then the young ones who are also taking after, all right, the people who have gone ahead. Because somebody can tell you, man, in this family, this person, has a forged certificate and all of that. Nothing is happening. The person is excelling. And the issue of using one certificate for more than one person, claiming to be the owner of that certificate. Now, what about political office holders? Because if you look at what was on the papers, the screening and verification is for people, ministries, agencies, parastatals, civil servants, public servants, and all of that. Why? What do you think about people in politics? They don't need certificates? Or
no, it's not about needing certificates. We have a faulty provision when it has to do with when it has to do with electoral matters. There's a basic qualification, for a politician to contest for any of these positions. He has the basic. Nobody will really bother himself with any other certificates on top of it, except in a situation where there is proven case of forgery, and if it is sustained legally in court, why not? That could be the only option. But beyond that, if you say this man is a governor, and then he has the basic qualification of a school cert, which of course could be the provision in the constitution and all of that. Now, if he does that and he's within the age bracket, and then after that he now has masters and PhD and all that, and let me shock you. The whole thing has become so muddled up that people who just go to a university and then give them money for honorary degree, come out with Doctor of Philosophy, honorary whatever. I don't know what I understand.
Yeah, I do.
And they append it as Doctor this, that. No. If you must append it, you must indicate that it's an honorary degree. So right now, every politician is having a doctorate degree without thesis, and you say you have a doctorate degree. Are you getting me? So the whole thing has been so muddled up that we can hardly differentiate between those who went through the process and then became, had a PhD as it were, and then those who had honorary degrees, and then who now don't even differentiate it. In civilized climes, you don't even use it at all. And if you must use it at all, you must indicate in bracket that is an honorary degree.
But they don't do it.
But here they don't do it.
You just see doctor.
Some of them even go to some religious institutions and they will award them, some of them. Then some of them, they say institute of this, institute of that, institute of this. How can an institute that has no, basically apart from the office which they maintain and run, they don't have, it's not an institute per se, because people really don't come in there, and they don't have steady workers who mentor and tutor these people, who come before they are now giving any of the certificates and all that. And you still see some of them, instead of going professionally and proficiently by giving certificates like associate this, member this, that, they have even gone to the extent of awarding doctorate degrees.
This is a
And
problem.
the recipients are using it all over the place, as if they are academic doctors, when they are not.
So can we attribute that also to forgery?
Weak institutions of state, and the politicization of the whole process. Because it's not as if with the Minister of Education tell me that he's not aware of what I'm talking about. But probably if they do, they will offend some political sacred cows in politics. And they wouldn't want to do that because they will ruffle feathers. And that's where the problem is. So if the government is coming out clean and clear to say we want to do this, it should cut across board, and there should be no sacred cow. And the institution of state should go after them. As soon as that happens and anybody is discovered, prosecute the person. Withdraw the something. Do you know that even in some universities they run a racket? They run a racket where you don't even need to, all you need to do is just buy your form, fill a form, get admitted into the school. You can go into thin air, pay your fees, and then you collect your certificate.
At the end of
the
number of years stipulated.
Yes. Because some foreign institutions, you have some polytechnics, you have some all manner of institutions.
But then,
who monitors them? The institution of state is terribly weak. Because let me tell you, I said it here one time when I was here. Those who are prepared to do the job and make sure that proper things are done are not rewarded in government. Those who cut corners and who are ready to do the building of whoever, they are the ones who get rewarded. And let me shock you again. Have you asked a question about the accreditation system of courses in universities?
Yes, I was actually coming to that, because you already talked about the issue that there are compromises, and the issue of checking. That brings in NUC now. But then the National University Commission and every other accreditation bodies, how, if we are having this free worker, because we've heard of some people who will come and they tell you, well, this is an institution affiliated to this university, affiliated to the other university, and in just months or maybe in 1 year, you see someone have multiple degrees with certificates. Now the issue of accreditation, how are these schools accredited? How do they get this accreditation? How do they get the approval? who gives the approval, who go to check what is being done by these institutions to get these accreditations, and at the end of the day, these certificates, the people coming out with these certificates, instead of being a plus to the society, are becoming more like nuisance and problem to the society.
Let me tell you, see, go to a university, maybe pick up a department that, a normal department that is just existing, or a faculty that is existing, and then see whether you can shadow them. They now say, okay, that there will be accreditation of courses. It becomes a rat race. Everybody from the highest to the lowest person in the university, in the faculty, in the department will be running helter-skelter to ensure accreditation. And how do they do it? By putting a non-existing, things that were not there before, to be in place for the accreditation team to see those things. It's a make-believe. I don't know what I understand. Whereby they will now go and then source for lecturers, to build up the requirements, source for even materials in the office, office tables, office this, office that, get them ready, do a lot of upgrades. And sometimes you see a particular lecturer who is in a university, in one university, his name is in 4, 5, 6 universities, where he makes up for the shortfall during accreditation. You understand? Now, but the sad story is that as soon as the accreditation thing is over, the whole thing relapses again. And then wherever they got those they got and materials they got, they will have to go back there. And the status quo remains. So, what I'm trying to say is the institution of state is very weak, like I said. And those who ought to be the drivers, sometimes you discover that some of them could be beneficiaries. It's a possibility, you understand? It's just like if you do an investment and then all of a sudden they ask you to dismantle your investment. It's not always an easy ride. And in a weak society in terms of institutional operations like our own, it becomes a very difficult thing for even the government that is mooting the idea to do much, because before you know it, contacts will be, people will start contacting those they know, There were cases in the past where some people were found wanted. Their certificates were not there. The schools they claimed they attended, they never did, and all that. But at the end of the day, they stayed back. Nothing happened to them. Somebody will just make a call, a few phone calls, and say, leave that man alone there. And that is the end of the matter. So I will be happy if this government can carry out this to the letter. If they can do that, that's a plus for them, because you see, everything about us is beginning to look so murky. People are no longer so clear about anything about us. So if government can do that, so that our certificates can be respected, fine and good. But if it is business as usual, politics as usual, whereby certain persons are absorbed and nothing happens to them and all that, even after finding, too bad. And I can tell you, they forge this thing all over the place. Business centers, there are no certificates. You go there, show them, they will not be able to do it for you. In these days of AI and all of that, they will do it and give it to you. But there should be a repository of, the data of those who attended certain schools and the rest of them, which should be kept by every institution. If they can set up a machinery whereby these certificates are referred back to the universities or higher institutions, as it were, for them to now cross-check and say, look, yes, this person attended, this person did not attend, and all that, and release their report, unedited, and then government decide to work on that, why not? But I can tell you that it's just one of those.
But some analysts have argued that because there is an unemployment situation in the country, if verifications and these screenings is being done, or fishing out people that have forged certificate, because it's going to be across board, like you said, there is no both in public service, civil service, in the military, and even in politics, we've had people who may be victim, okay, of this forgery. And some analysts are of the opinion that this is going to result to unemployment when we already have a lot of people on ground unemployed. What's your perspective?
Now, we are talking of weak institutions because those who manage these institutions don't even know what it takes to manage institutions. You can't give what you don't have. You can't give what you do not have. These people, some of the people we are talking about never went to school. Well, had good contacts that gave them certificates and all that, and protected them and the certificates. So what do you really expect from such fellows? It's not about sentiment. Sentiment about unemployment will be a blackmail on government. Are you getting me? If you come and start talking to government, if you do this, it will result in unemployment, it's a blackmail. Because it ought not to be. You can't give what you don't have. You simply didn't go to school, and then you want to load it on those who went to school. And most cases, this category of persons we are talking about are occupying number one positions in so many areas. And when they do that, their ignorance and their lack of knowledge, transcends down to because if ignorance and whatever start flowing from the top, it must get to the bottom. Because even
that is disaster.
Oh yes, even you who is in between, who probably knows so much and who want to say so much and do so much, you'll be frustrated. You can't do much. There's nothing you can do. Yeah. And then when you are talking of the other aspect of it is that our emphasis is always on certificates. Now let us be looking at a situation where instead of certificates, we are talking of skill. Are you getting me? So the institutions, our various institutions like universities and the rest of them, you should begin to emphasize skills, and they emphasize the idea of having this certificate and all that. If in other climes like in first world countries and all that, you still see a situation where somebody could be an illiterate. I can tell you somewhere in California, there is this community that what they know so much to do, have to do is aluminum smelting, and this aluminum, this Ascon in Ikota-Bashi, that's where they drew many of their expatriates those days, because I happened to be in government then, and many of them were illiterates in the real sense of it, but they knew how to smelt iron. I mean aluminum. So that's a skill. So at every point we should be talking about skill and then the certificates and be able to categorize them and know exactly what we really want.
Okay.
I don't know what I understand. So.
But is there need to strike a balance, or you feel, well, if you want to go to school to get a certificate, go to school. If you want to go for skill, go for skills. Because some persons will argue that, okay, look at people look at Zuckerberg, for instance, a dropout, and look at the impact he's making today. Some people may want to think, well, like we're talking about skills now, some persons may want to feel, well, there is no need for school, and let me just acquire the skill and move on with my life.